You found us again. Just Ask George. I'm David Wolf, affiliate banker with BH Capital, and I'm joined, as always, by George Lovato, bing, the head dude at BH Capital.
The head dude. Here again on another Friday.
The magical Friday. And George, I want to focus in. We were talking offline, and we decided to make a show out of this because it's a part of running, managing, all things being a COO, CFO, running a business that we don't talk about a lot, and it needs to get some attention, right?
The gut.
The gut.
The gut feeling, that little voice in the back of your head, all those wonderful things that you can't quite put your finger on in terms of hearing and listening to it coming from the front. It kind of comes from behind.
And there's a two-way conversation that happens when we've talked about this, as I mentioned. But you wrote a book called The Obstacle Course, and in it you talk about, I would say, several circumstances where you pointed to a sensation, a voice that you were hearing. He's hearing voices, folks. This is scary. No, but really.
And then they medicated me.
It was in a beautiful way that you were faced with a set of decisions or circumstances,
right,
and that somehow you were guided by what we'll call this inner voice. Talk about a couple of those examples, if you would.
Well, there were times when I did follow that gut feeling, and there are times I didn't follow that gut feeling. And I had a really bad feeling about some people, and against advice of others, and against that little funny voice you hear in the background that says, don't do business with them. I did business anyway, and it became a disaster. It turned out to be a disaster of some kind. And then there were things that I just it just seemed like, it felt like instinct. It felt like there was nothing stopping me, and all the energy was go forward. That's really what I heard, was continue, keep pushing, go forward, do business with that person. That's a good strategy. Execute on that. It was seamless. It was almost like, you can have a pontoon boat, which you really have to push really hard through the water. It has a lot of drag on it. Or you can have, an America's Cup boat, which just slips through the water. And in those cases where I was following my gut, I just slipped through the water.
What we're really talking about here, folks, is a decision-making process that we all go through as business owners. There are certain moments we reach where there's a fork in the road and we're faced with a set of decisions or circumstances. I think a lot of the times it is about the people. We talk so much about people first in our business. We recommend that business owners talk about people first in their business. It's about the judgment of character. There's something that hits you about somebody, and it may be chemistry.
I think the gut is part of the whole chemistry thing that you feel with people. But I think that it's important to note that when we talk about it in the book, we keep saying, listen. What is your gut telling you? What are you feeling in your gut at that particular time when you're confronted with a significant decision or confronted with the opportunity to do business with someone? And it's not just significant decisions alone, or it's not just people decisions alone. You really want to follow that feeling in sort of a seamless sort of manner throughout the day.
That's an interesting distinction. Yeah. I just said, well, maybe it's about points you reach and then you suddenly tap it. You're saying this is a flow, a continuous flow of consciousness.
It's a continuous flow of sort of seamless consciousness. You should be able to kind of tap, and it sounds so, earthy when you say that, But I mean, it's true. I mean, we talk about projection in a certain way, seeing the day's activities in your mind like a movie first thing in the morning, and then try to execute and emulate that. Okay, well, this is the other side of that coin.
That's interesting.
Okay. Yeah. And so here you're projecting, but you're also, hey, I'm going to do these things today. I want to see these things happen a certain way, and the outcomes to, my intention is to do this. The outcome that's desired is supposed to be Y, and I want that to come together. Well, during the day, you want to be able to feel if what you saw in your mind, if this is that opportunity, if this is that decision point, and what it's telling you. I'll give you two stark examples. You may visualize in the morning, well, I need to make that phone call to that particular lender, and I've got to talk to him, and I've got to get him convinced to be part of the syndication. Well, you do, okay, all of a sudden that does happen. But during that call, okay, and you wanted the outcome for him to participate, you find out that he's a little hesitant, and he's talking about maybe some problems he's having in his own financial world. And so rather than push through and convince him, get on board, be part of this syndication, so on, maybe you should listen to what the little yellow guy's saying on your shoulder, and maybe he's not right for the group. Maybe he could come in and it could cause problems later. So you had that intention in the morning, you visualized it, but the call didn't come out. Well, what that really said is, okay, well, then I need to make another call. I need to get somebody else into the group to replace that guy. So you have to be responsive.
Exactly. What you're talking about is almost an intuitive adaptation. Intuitive adaptation. Is this something, do you think, and you're a guy that, you accomplished quite a bit in business very successfully before you were 30, but is this something that
and now I'm 55. I know you just right on the tip of your tongue. You're going to say it, didn't you?
At the end of the
yes, I'm old. I'm getting older.
And
I'm being propped up right now with a bunch of sticks in my back.
I'm at a loss for words, which rarely happens, folks.
Sorry, I ruined
No,
your train
you
of
ruined my train of thought, which is easy to do, as you know. Is this, the simple way to ask it is, I was going to ask, and I'm going to change my question, is this something we can learn? But the real thing I want to ask is the composite of all your experience, at the end of the day, informing this thing we call intuition?
That's a great question, because at what point in time does your gut, is it driven solely by your experience?
Right.
And at what point are you having a new experience that, you're sort of adding back into your hard drive for future reference on what to do or not to do?
Sure.
So, again,
sure.
We have an issue where experience is going to drive your gut. You're gonna be just more familiar with what that feeling is telling you, and that's because you've registered that information in your hard drive. You've said, gee, that sounds familiar. Boy, this feeling is very familiar. I've had that before. That's really where...
Yeah, it's like a recall of a sensation and the outcome that happened as a result of it.
Exactly. And so, it just, like I said, it just sounds so touchy-feeling, but it when I talk to some of the top CEOs in this country, the top CFOs, some of the top, most notable bankers, how many times do I have a conversation with them and they say, my gut tells me this isn't the right deal for us, or my gut tells me I need to be in on this, or my gut tells me this structure just doesn't fit. I can't count the number of the times it happens during the day. Truthfully,
the use of that language, my gut tells me X or Y.
My gut, and they are listening to their gut, because the experienced guy in business, or gal for that matter, does in fact have a whole library of experiences, and in many cases they're following their feelings, on what is right and what is wrong. Of course, we're taught as children the right and wrong, black and white. Our parents tell us what we can and can't do.
Yeah.
But when you start talking about the gut, that's just another dimension of right and wrong. Now it's that intuitive side of it. I'll ask you a question.
Uh-oh.
Give me an example when when you went against the feeling and something didn't quite turn out the way it was intended to.
He knows he's putting me...
You've got a million stories.
Have I got stories? Well, where you're saying I listened to my gut and it didn't go so well.
No. Where you didn't listen to your gut.
Where I didn't listen to my gut. It was an academically driven decision.
Right.
And I ended
solely
up
by the numbers.
Solely by the numbers. Well, we that I've had an experience in the bagel business, and we've framed it as being a very, there were some successes and some challenges, but I think the net of it was a challenge, okay? And this is what got me in finance, because now I know everything there was to know about challenges in business. So, of course, we're always hesitant to talk about the negative stories, but I will tell you that I was intrigued with the idea that we could produce volumes of a product, and I created all the spreadsheets, and I, did all the math to determine whether I wanted to do this business endeavor. And I knew nothing about the bakery business. This was a commercial bakery business, wholesale mostly, some retail. And based on the numbers and the opportunity of the profits that it looked like it could produce, I think I went for it. Without fully considering the gestalt. He loves when I talk Yiddish. The gestalt, is that Yiddish?
Yeah, it should be if it isn't.
Hey, if it isn't,
If
we'll
it
make
isn't,
it
we'll
Yiddish.
make it
We'll add it
Yiddish.
to the. But that was a case where I strictly, and really it was a classic case of an entrepreneur
So it was
being
the initial,
unconditionally optimistic.
It was the initial decision to go forward. So you sat down in front of an Excel spreadsheet and did all the pumping of the numbers, and then you said,
Right.
I'm going to rock.
Oh, right. And
Yeah.
I think there's a tendency, and I
so,
had it then.
So it was purely a numbers driven decision. You didn't consider any other external feelings you might have been having about the decision.
Right, and in this case, as you may recall from episode 37, it was of Just Ask George. It was really a family endeavor,
Right.
which makes all of this discussion about intuition quite complicated on one hand.
Right.
But just getting back to your question, that was one where, I was compelled by the numbers. It was an academic decision. Wow, what a great opportunity. Irrational exuberance around the opportunity.
Okay.
Because
the exuberance was driven by the numbers.
Right.
We're going to make millions in this commercial bakery operation.
Right.
And you really weren't listening to all the other little signals, bells, whistles, alarms, anything else going on.
Right, which was probably a lot of emotional information and intuitive.
Donald Trump said it best. He said, family and business is one of the greatest things, or family and business can be one of the biggest absolute disasters.
Right.
It's either or. And of course, everyone knows that my father ran a subsidiary of my very first public company. And he and I had been great partners. I mean, if we had disagreements, we had big disagreements. I mean, they were measurable. Usually some seismograph somewhere close by would go off. But we were very effective together in that. And I think today, if as old as I am and as old as he is, if we were in that very same position, we would be far more productive than we were then because our relationship has gotten better. But he is a guy, I call him the original entrepreneur. I mean, he's done a lot of things in his life and a lot of them successfully. But he follows his gut, and I learned that from him.
So he would actually say to you, or you'd observe him doing this.
He would say it. He would and say it and mean it. He'd say, I don't think that's right. My gut's telling me no. Or that's great. Let's go for it. Let's go all out. I feel great about it.
I want to share something.
And it was always the word feel, or it was the word gut.
As a musician, you would think, and this is about me, folks. It's all
It's all about you.
But it may be something worth sharing.
Hey, that could be a new offshoot. Just ask Dave.
It'll be too long a series for anyone.
A lot of subject matter will get covered.
And a lot of sand up in the air and many tangents and subgroups and sub episodes.
Exactly.
Well, we're out of time anyway, but let's just make this longer.
We're going to give it a few more minutes. So we're on a roll.
As a musician,
I'm sure all of you will like the outcome of this discussion.
The active, and this is I like the analogies of playing improvised music to management. I think there's something there.
Yeah.
There's some dots to be drawn. But as a musician, you'd think that you're highly intuitive in the musical thing. I mean, the most.
That sounds right. That feels right.
And while you're playing with musicians, it's all about listening to them, and you're responding without really thinking because it's almost like an extension of you. In business, I've found that I've often resisted listening to that intuition. Maybe because I thought, well, this isn't music, this is business. In other words, a forced compartmentalization. I don't know if anyone that's watching has experienced
and that's what I'm saying. If you are that way, and you're in business, you need to peel all those very firm layers of your own onion back and be more flexible. And you really need to pay attention to what that little man on your shoulder is saying, what your gut's telling you, or that background voice that you've got behind you.
But which background voice should I be listening to?
Well, yeah, be a bad boy. But Freud, had, what was it, id, ego, and superego, and so on and so forth. I think we, as human beings, are, really telegraphed the right decisions all the time. We just have to tune in and listen to what that second opinion, that almost silent, not quite, but almost silent second opinion is given us. And, like I said, I talk to top corporate managers, the best bankers in the world, and I'm telling you that I hear it a countless number of times. My gut is telling me these guys that are successful use that as one of the main barometers to check and balance what they've projected, because I've talked to tons of them again that are really into projection. And they really are. They use it all the time. They will visualize early in the morning. They will visualize several times a day. And so, they're kind of opposite sides of the same coin, but there is a relationship there. But and my last question, and this is a short answer because we're going to almost run out of time. But I want you to tell me in the last year. It's almost a leading question, or maybe a little longer. Maybe it's been a little over a year. When did you follow your gut? When is the most significant decision you've made that you can recall that you followed your gut?
It is absolutely a leading question, and it's a great note to end
No,
on.
you don't have to answer the one I'm thinking about. No. I'm serious.
No. Seriously, though. I walked into George's office about, almost 2 years ago. A common friend. I was kind of playing
Mike
with
Stenke.
Yes.
We know you watch this program, Mike.
And I walked in the office, and I don't know if you remember this. I said, for one of the first things I said when this smiling guy with lots of presents came out, George Lovato, the head dude, I instantly connected, and I said, this is one of those moments where I'm not quite sure why I'm here.
Exactly. And by the end of that meeting,
remember that?
Yeah. And by the end of that meeting, we both were so kinetic about, hey, when we could do this, and let's try this, and da-da-da-da, and boom, boom, boom.
Yes.
And
I
this is one of many things that came out of that meeting, but it was the same gut feeling that I had, you had. It was an exact mirror. And so when it works and it's right, guess
why
what?
Fight it?
Why
and
fight
it's
it?
going to work.
And it was loud, wasn't it?
It was loud.
It was loud. It was loud.
That was a loud
so.
one. That was a loud day.
Yeah.
We don't mean in decibels. We mean just, and I walked out of the office and I'm like, what? It was frictionless. It was easy. And that's the way business should go. And that's the way our business went.
Yeah, that's exactly true.
That's true. It was a good leading question, though.
Yeah, thank you.
Just ask George,
I
folks.
thought you were going to say, well, let's see.
No, I wasn't going to go to the dark place. I went to the happy place.
The happy place, yeah.
Folks, we're glad you're with us. You can watch all our episodes on YouTube and, of course, on www.bhcapitalltd.com. Look for information about
and Just Ask George Radio.
Thank you.
Just Ask George Radio.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All those places. Lots of content. Look for us on LinkedIn.
Look for us on LinkedIn very soon.
Yeah, well, we're there now. I'm out there doing a lot of making some noise out there and continuing to preach the message so that it's important to you and relevant to your business. We'll see you next time. George,
take care. Be good, buddy.